Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a life celebration by Franklin monthly grief symposium. Guys, can you believe we are already in the month of August? It has seemed like the months are going by pretty fast, and the days have been pretty hot. So we are just going to move along with this. Today, our topic is grief has no expiration date. Dr. Cunningham and I were speaking a few minutes ago, and we are just talking about a little bit of grief that I've been having, and but she's going to explain all that to us. So, hey, Dr. Cunningham.
Hey, Marie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and let you get started because we looked over the handout, and there's quite a few tidbits that we're going to have to go through. So I'm going to let Dr. Cunningham get started. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Marie. Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's afternoon when we're going live, but if you're watching the replay, good night, good morning, whenever you watch it. We're so excited that you guys are with us every month, and sharing is caring. So as you guys come on, would you do us a favor? We want to get the message out to other people about grief support. So would you share the broadcast as you feel comfortable to do so? We welcome all of you that are on Facebook. We see you guys coming in. And we see you guys coming in on YouTube as well. If you don't mind, would you say hello or let us know where you're logging in from? Put it in the chat just to let us know that you are with us, on this hot Sunday afternoon if you are in Texas. Hope you guys are staying cool and staying hydrated. As always, we want to appreciate the Franklins of a life celebration by Franklin. For those of you who are here, maybe for the first time, and you don't know what that is a funeral home. That is a funeral home, and it's actually also an event center. Okay, so we appreciate them for providing this service to not only their families, but to other people, especially when we are in person. They open it up to anybody in the Austin, Texas area. So we're excited again that you're here. We appreciate the Franklins. Hello, Lois. Good to see you from Houston. OB. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. So, yes, let us know where you're logging in from and if this is your first time being with us live or if this is your first time being with us watching the replay. Just put a 1 in the comment section. Put a 1 in the comment section, and our producer, he will respond to you and greet you. I see you, Debbie. Good to see you. It's been a long time. Hey, Cynthia, all the way from Austin, Texas. Good to see you guys coming on in. I appreciate you putting in the comment section. And so again, yes, if it's your first time, you can just put a 1 in the comment section so that we can actually welcome you. I want to let you know that the handout is available. We put it on a little bit earlier before we started today. So you'll see the handout under the description of the video. So you can click on that link and you can follow along with me, or you can get it afterwards. Okay, but it's some good information in there. So you want to make sure you get the handout. Hey, Lisa from Austin, Texas. You guys are coming in. Good to see you all. Can't wait to see y'all in person. Okay, we've already been talking about our 2027 schedule. Can y'all believe it? Just like Marie said, it is almost September. This year is almost over. So we'll be in person, I know, in November, I believe, is when I'll see you guys in person. Hello, Phyllis from Round Rock. Lisa Green put a 1 in the comment section. This is her first time being with us. We are so excited that you are here. Thank you so much for taking out of your time to come and do what we call some self-care. Okay? So before we get into what we call the meat and potatoes of our handout, you already know, those of you who have been here before, I'm always going to check in with you. I want to do a self-check-in. You may ask, why do I do the self-check-in every month? It's because I want you to be able to assess and determine how you are progressing, how you are doing on your grief journey from the last time I saw you, the last time that I spoke with you. Before I logged on with you guys, I hopped on to Instagram just for a brief moment, and I saw Pat Smith. Y'all remember Pat Smith? I think she was married to one of the Cowboys. I don't know. But yeah, Pat Smith. Go look her up. And she was talking about grief, and She had not grieved her mom, who died years ago. She did not grieve her sister properly. And she said, I didn't even know that you needed to grieve a marriage. Yeah, and it was interesting to listen to that. So grief has no expiration date. That is going to be our topic. But before we start that again, what's the self-care? So those of you who have been here before, I want you to put in the chat. Tell me what you have done to take care of yourself since we were together last month or the last time I saw you. What are the things that you are doing to take care of yourself since I saw you last? I always ask this because if you don't take care of you, who will? So YouTube, hey Vicky, good to see you. Logging in all the way from San Antonio. Glad to see you as well. So I always want to lead by example. So what have I done to take care of myself since I saw you last? Actually, I just got home about a couple of hours ago from Oklahoma. I went to Broken Bow, Oklahoma, to the cabins. And I went there Thursday. And listen, y'all need to stay tuned for more information about that because it certainly was an experience, a healing, enlightening experience for me. So I'll tell you more about that. If you're not following me already on social media, follow me so you don't want to miss that story. But I went there on Thursday and I shared a few days of rest with some colleagues of mine of the speaker coaching a certification program I participated in, started last year, I believe, and graduated. We graduated last year and we got a chance to go on a trip to celebrate one another this year. So I unplugged from Thursday up until this morning. Didn't answer my phone unless I needed to. I just rested, slept in late. Yeah, it was a wonderful time of rest. So I've been doing that and I'm still walking that as my mode of exercise. So that's what I'm doing to take care of myself. And I'm still in therapy. And listen, my therapy sessions here lately, boy, it's been unearthing some stuff about me that I didn't even know was there. I did. Stay tuned for that too. You already know I always share my stories with you. So my therapist helped me discover some things that I thought that I had dealt with already, and it's still a little residue there. So I'll tell you more about that. So Debbie, you said, yeah, Broken Bow. Have you ever been there? I really enjoyed it. Phyllis says, I'm going to the gym doing Zumba. Very good. Very good. Glad you are doing that. Glad you are doing that. So you guys can continue to drop it in the chat what you're doing, because I always want you to know we're holding each other accountable, right? You're not getting a grade for this. However, it is impacting your life. We don't come here on Sundays, every fourth Sundays, just to be here. We're here because we want to make a difference. We're here because we want to share information with you that's going to help you live life after loss. Life after loss. So we're going to go ahead and get into our topic. We're talking about grief has no expiration date, even though most people think it does. David Kessler, he is one of the leading experts also in the grief field. And I saw him on a video several months ago, and he was asked this question, like I'm asked this same question quite often. How long is the grief going to last? That's what the person asked him. How long is my grief going to last since my loved one died? And his response was, well, how long is your loved one going to be dead? You know, I started laughing at that. Some of you may not think that is funny, but coming from a person who's been in the funeral service industry for a greater part of my life, over 30-something years, he said, well, how long is she going to be dead? Forever. That means grief has no expiration date. If you follow me any length of time, I've taught you grief doesn't end, but what is supposed to end is the pain, Lisa says she's walking and starting to go back to the gym. Good for you. Congrats. Okay. So most people think that grief has an expiration date. It does not. So it really does not operate on a calendar. Can anybody relate to that? Grief, I wish it did, because it just does not fit into my schedule. Okay. I'm doing good one moment, and all of a sudden I'll have a trigger, and here I am in this space. So grieving. So what we want you to know is that it does not operate according to our calendar, and it can basically return months or years later. And it doesn't mean just because it comes up, it doesn't mean that you're going backwards. I have many people who fear that and say, oh my gosh, I had a setback. I'm like, what makes you think you had a setback? They say, because I was crying. I said, that's absolutely okay. Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth shared that grief is the price that we pay for love. So when you love someone deeply or something and you lose that someone or something, you're going to experience grief. I have shared with some of you, you may remember that I said in May, Mother's Day this year, grief popped up for me, and it hadn't in a long time. My baby died in 2004 and my mother died in 2006. But this year in 2026, it was my pastor's wife. She did the message for the day. Elder Tony. She did the message for the day. And before she did, of course, she acknowledged all the mothers and things like that. But I loved what she did. Also, she acknowledged everyone, the mothers whose mother has passed. Actually, anybody whose mother has passed. And then she also, I said, okay, that's nice. Gave me a moment to remember my mother. And then she said, I want to also acknowledge mothers whose children have passed. And when she said that, the tears started rolling down my face. It's been since 2004, 2006, right? So grief doesn't have an expiration date. Hey there from Cincinnati, Ohio, Desiree. Welcome. We're so glad you're here. Glad you're here, Isaac. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going backwards. So healing can occur while you love, while you have memories, while you have triggers and moments of sadness. All of that remains, okay? So the return of grief is not necessarily the return of brokenness. That's what most people think. When grief pops up, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily broken. Grief returning does not mean that your healing disappeared. All of the work that you've been doing, okay? So let me ask you guys this question. Have you ever been fine one moment and then maybe for months or even years and suddenly something just reminded you of your loved one, your loss, your grief, and it just hit you all over again? Yeah. Has that ever happened to anybody? If it has, put it in the chat. Say yes, 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 it happened to me. Okay? So it could be a song, a smell, a photograph, a sound. For me, when I hear the lawnmower during the summertime, when people are mowing their lawns, grief pops up because it reminds me of my father because he would mow the lawn continuously. And boy, do I miss him now. Man, the yard now is dead because it's so hot outside. That's not my ministry to do the yard. Okay? So Lois says yes, absolutely. It could be a drive to a familiar place, a holiday, anything, seeing someone who looks like your loved one, anything can trigger that. And so, and suddenly you'll probably think or even ask yourself, you will say, why am I crying? I thought I was over this. I thought I was over grief. Remember, we don't get over grief. We adjust to it. You learn to integrate the loss into your life and you keep growing around that. You keep growing around that. So Marilyn said yes on YouTube. It was a song. Phyllis says yes, it happened to her. Cynthia, yes. Lisa, yes. We can relate. How about the songs that you guys had played at the funeral or the memorial service? Those songs that'll pop up some memories and some grief as well. So there's a myth surrounded about grief and how we respond to it. The myth is, I should be over this by now. I should be over this by now. If you've been following me, you know that I've taught you that it takes up to, according to David Kessler, the grief expert, it takes up to 5 years after the loss for you to find your new normal. You got to find it. For you to find your footing. Okay? So one of the most damaging expectations surrounding grief is the belief that there is a predetermined amount of time after which you should no longer hurt. And that's not true. People expect, this is what people expect. They'll say, it's been a year. A year is only 365 days, right? And a greater part of that time, you are in shock. You're in the bubble. Lizzie says yes. Okay. People will expect, you still talking about that? I remember I had one client come and her dad died of COVID. And I think it was year three. Year three, she was coming and she was speaking to her pastor on the phone at the time. She said, I've got to go, Pastor, because I'm getting ready to go to grief counseling. And the pastor's response, you still dealing with that? They don't understand how grief works. Or people expect you got to move forward. They wouldn't want you to be sad. I really don't like it when people say that. They wouldn't want you to be sad. You don't know what they wanted. They wouldn't want you to be sad. So, but grief doesn't work according to a person's timeline. Okay? Time passing and grief processing are not the same thing. Just because time has passed, it doesn't mean a person has really processed their grief. So you can have a loss that happened 10 years ago, but you can still have aspects of that loss that you're understanding differently today because you're different today. Remember, grief changes who you are. Y'all looking at this lady, those of you, I think we have one first timer. So others of you on here, you've seen me before. You may have heard me tell this story that how grief changed me and it made me a fashionista. It really did. I have fashion now. It changed me. It was like the light bulb came on just like this, turned off. Bloop. It's like, man, I have fashion now. I love it. I've had many people ask me, especially in the beginning of my healing journey, who's your stylist? I didn't even know what that was in the beginning. I'm like, what? That's a person who styles you. I know people have that. I pick out my own clothes. I don't have people to pick out my clothes for me. But people thought I had a stylist because the way I was putting things together. Look at my big earrings. I absolutely love my cute, because I don't have long hair, so it makes me think I have long hair. These big glasses, that's stylish for me. Okay? So grief changed me in that aspect, and I'm different. So what are some of the things that you may revisit after the loss because you're new? As you get older, again, you change. What about developmental stages, relationships, seasons, spiritual perspectives, level of emotional maturity, life experience? I know I'm 60 now. The things that I understand about grief that I just learned about myself in my recent sessions of therapy, man, okay, there's some things that I learned about myself that I didn't know was still there. Ella says, people are quick to tell you to get over it. Yes, they are. Hey, Shirley. So sometimes the grief didn't necessarily change, but you changed. Okay. And now you're encountering the loss from a different place. I can give you a non-death loss example. When I did some remodeling in my kitchen, I live in the house that I grew up in. So I'm 60. The house is 60 something years old. My parents moved here when I was born. That's what they tell me. So I had to get some new kitchen cabinets. I had the same cabinets that were in the house when I grew up. And so as I started having the repair work done, I was back here in my office, and then I went up to the front, and the contractors were hauling out the old cabinets, my parents' cabinets. They were hauling them out. And all of a sudden, grief popped up. It started welling up and tears started rolling down. I said, wait, can you hold it? They're like, why are you crying? I say, listen, don't judge me. We listen, but we don't judge. Grief popped up. I said, those are my parents' cabinets. Even though they're old and they need to go, those were my parents. Just let me have my grief moment. And we paused for a moment. I said, okay, you can take them to the dumpster. Okay, so grief will pop up because I've changed, because of life experiences. Okay, so if a woman loses her mom, an example would be at age 25, you grieve again, of course, losing your mom, but when you become a mother yourself, you grieve not having your mother to guide you. That happens a lot. Doesn't matter how old we are, we still want our mother, we still want our father. Okay, so or your daughter gets married, you grieve that grandmama is not here. Your daughter graduates. You grieve that your mom is not here. So that's how grief continues, even when it's a happy occasion, okay? So it's the same death, but different developmental responses or moments. different layers of grief. Is this making sense to you guys? If it is, put yes in the comment section so I can know that you're understanding. So we want you to know that grief is not linear to where you go from point A to point B and Z. No. Grief is up and down, up and down. It's not linear. So many people unconsciously imagine healing to be like, I have this loss, then the next thing I'm going to have is pain. Okay, good. Glad you guys are understanding. I see you putting it in the chat. Thank you so much. So you go from loss to pain to healing, and then you're done. Check the boxes. That's not how grief works, okay? Grief doesn't follow that. It's not a neat progression. I see you guys. Come on. Thank you for putting it in the chat on Facebook that you're understanding. Grief may look like this. You go from the loss to pain, then adjustment, then some joy, then you get triggered, then you have sadness, recovery, growth. You go through all of these things, okay? Some things that I just recently discovered that happened in my marriage that I didn't know was happening, and it hit me just like it happened to that day, which was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I went through a lot of emotions. I'm in a different space. I've been divorced. The marriage died 14 years ago, but new information came, and it caused sadness, shame, disappointment, confusion, anger. It caused all of these emotions to come up. So you can have a wonderful Sunday, and by Monday, everything is falling apart. Can anybody relate to that? Like, I was doing fine. I felt fine. I wasn't thinking about my loss, and all of a sudden, boom, you're not okay. That's how grief works, okay? You can laugh in the morning and be crying at night. So when people ask you, how are you doing? How you cope? You say, well, I'm coping okay right now in this moment. Check with me this evening. It could change. It could really change. So one of the most important words in healthy grieving is what we call and, A-N-D. Can y'all put that in the chat? And, A-N-D. I call it the and ministry. Okay, the and, A-N-D. Did you know that you can miss your loved one and enjoy life? You can do them both at the same time. Okay? Did you know that you can cry and be healing at the same time? Yeah. Thanks, Lois. And Phyllis said, yes, I was doing fine. Then you're crying. Absolutely. And did you know that you can remember and move forward? You can experience sadness and gratitude. That's a huge one. Sadness and gratitude at the same time. Many different emotions. That's right, Vicky, on YouTube. Here's a big one. For the people of God. For the saints. For the saints of the Most High God. Did you know that you can have faith and questions? Faith and questions all at the same time. You can love what you lost, who you lost, and love the life you still have. That would be me. Praise the Lord. I love, being married, but I love being single right now. It's just me. I don't have to worry about nobody else. Okay? That brings me joy right now. Healing doesn't require choosing between two choices. Okay? It doesn't. Healing is not the absence of grief. It's developing the capacity to carry grief differently. Can you put that in the chat? Healing is developing the capacity to carry grief differently. I know that's a lot. Healing is developing the capacity to carry grief differently. So why does it come back? People say, I thought I was doing good. Why did it come back? It never left. Okay? You experience something called a grief resurgence. Okay? Periods when grief becomes more intense again after becoming less prominent. So when does it happen? Usually during anniversary reactions, date of deaths, date of diagnosis, funeral, anniversary, birthdays, all of these special days. Your body and your mind can associate those certain periods with significance. Okay? Your body and your mind can recognize it before you even do. Yeah, thank you guys for putting that in the chat. So sometimes you recognize the date, and sometimes you simply notice, I've been feeling emotional all week. I was just off. And then you look at the calendar and realize why that period carries meaning. Your body knew that something significant happened during this time. So your body started responding, even when your mind didn't realize the significance of the date. Is that making sense? So something else as it relates to why it comes back, the question that people ask, the sensory reminders. What our sensories, our memories are connected to sensory experiences, meaning what we smell. Like I was just in Oklahoma, and one of my colleagues asked me, she's a coffee drinker, and she said, do you want some coffee? I said, no, I'm not really a coffee drinker. A few years ago, I got hooked on Starbucks because of the sugar. It was just sugar. But my parents were coffee drinkers. So when I smelled her coffee, it reminded me of my parents, because every morning, hey, Pastor, my brother, the Sneed, every morning my parents would have the coffee going. So I love the smell of coffee. Sometimes I'll walk in Starbucks and not buy any coffee at all. I just want to smell it because it reminds me of my mother and my father. So any type of aroma, perfume, food, songs, television programs, restaurants, the neighborhood, all of these things can activate memories associated with someone or something you lost. So that's why grief can sometimes seem to appear out of nowhere. But it's not coming from nowhere. It was already there. Okay. Something activated the memory. Something activated the memory. So Phyllis said, yeah, the date is coming up for me, September 3rd. I'm already having problems knowing it. It will be 1 year. Yes, that's not uncommon to feel that way. Another reason why it pops up often is life milestones. Sometimes grief, the pain of it returns because something good happened. You graduated. You get married. I'm such a comedian sometimes. I was getting ready to say you got married. I don't know. That may not be a celebration for some people. Let me stay focused. Okay. Celebration. You got married. You have a baby. You buy your first house. Get promoted. All of the grief pops up. Some of you remember me talking about my most recent death loss is my god sister who died in 2023. She had an only child, and the only child was pregnant when she died. So having the baby, and she and her husband just bought the first house. Guess what? Grief popped up when you have these milestones. And what do you say? I wish they were here to see this. I wish mama was here. I wish my parents were here to see me now. I really do. I wish mom and daddy was here. I wish that. So what's the lesson that you can learn from that? Grief is not activated only by sadness. It's not. Joy can activate your grief too. So because sometimes the happiest moments illuminate who is missing, who's not here with you. Who's not here with you. Yes, who's not here with you. So guess what? The brain, the body, and grief triggers. That's why it pops up too. Grief isn't only emotional. Our loss affects how we think, our thoughts, our attention, our memory. Did you know that grief affects how you sleep? Your stress responses, your nervous system? It impacts all of that. So when something reminds us of a significant loss, the brain can rapidly connect the present experience with stored emotional memories. That's so good. I had to pause. Yeah, I'll be sharing more on that a little bit later. Okay. So this can help explain why you might hear one song and suddenly feel an intense emotional reaction. Blessings. Thank you, my brother. You rocking and rolling with me. I love it. Ministering where you, praise God that I'm glad that it is meeting you where you are. Meeting you where you are. So a trigger is what? Information. It's information. It tells you that something meaningful is connected to this moment. It may not mean a hill of beans to anybody else, but something meaningful is connected to this moment. Okay? All right? So instead of immediately asking, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? Try asking, what did this moment touch? Oh, woo! Listen, I'm trying to hold my mule. I'm trying to hold my mule because this is such good information. It's ministering to me too. Okay? So when you ask yourself that, it changes the conversation from judgment again to a place of understanding or curiosity and trying to find out, okay, what's really going on. So when the wave comes, this is what I encourage you to do. It's called the pause method. Y'all put this in the chat. The pause method. Pause. So when grief waves come, I want you to do the first thing. P is to pause. Can you put that in the chat? Pause. I want you to pause because I don't want you to immediately fight the emotion. Many of you do that. Hey, Jimmy. Many of you do that. Pause. Don't fight that emotion. Let it come up and out. Like in deliverance, when I'm working with people, inner healing and deliverance, let that come up and out. Your emotion has to do the same thing. So we want you to pause. Do not immediately fight that emotion. Many of you are struggling because you continue to suppress. The A stands for acknowledge. Acknowledge. This is grief. Something reminded me of my loss. Acknowledge. The A stands for acknowledge. This is just grief. A question I get asked often, is something wrong with me? I said, no, it's just grief. Nothing's wrong with you. It's just grief. Okay, this is grief. Something reminded me of my loss. You understand the trigger. You got to understand the trigger. P, pause. A, acknowledge. You understand the trigger. What happened right before I started feeling this? You can gain an understanding when you start asking those kinds of questions. What happened? What does the word tell us? And all that getting understanding. S is support yourself. How do you support yourself? Through prayer, if you're up to that moment to do that. Through journaling, talking, walking, resting, contacting someone, deep breathing, whatever you need to do in that moment to support you, do it. Do it. And then E is going to be engage in life. Engage. When you're ready, gently return to what you were doing. When you're ready, gently return to what you are doing. So I see that hit a nerve earlier when we were talking about, you got to ask yourself, what did this moment touch? Okay? You got to be able to identify that because your brain is making a connection. Let me give you guys a good example. And again, I'll talk on it a little bit later because I'm still processing through. I told you I just came from Broken Bow, right? Broken Bow, Oklahoma. And I've never wanted to go to the cabins because of what it connected me with, a memory. So some of you know my story that I was married to a guy who was not only my pastor, my husband, he's also my pastor. He elected to leave the marriage covenant to be fully present in the LGBTQ community, you know, living his life, doing his thing. Hey, do what you do. All right. That broke me. So I went through my process of healing. When I started going through the healing process in the beginning, I saw this movie called Brokeback Mountain. That is a movie about two cowboys who are part of the LGBTQ community. They were living a secret life, and one of them was married and one of them wasn't. So my brain associated Brokeback Mountain, the movie, with Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I'm trying to help somebody today. So I never wanted to go to the cabins because it reminded me of a moment that I wasn't ready to face. Am I helping you today? I'm trying to help you understand how I didn't realize that until this weekend. Okay? So I had a wonderful experience. Think about it. The mountains, the cabins. It was brought to my attention. A friend of mine, she said, interestingly enough, how grief, hurt, and pain and the enemy will cause you to see some place that's beautiful, like the cabins. You go there to relax. You go there to rest, to be restored. But what did I do? My brain, because of the hurt and the pain that I'm still processing through after 14 years, it associated a place of healing, a place of peace with pain. So that's why I went. That's why I went, because it was a part of my healing journey. I'll talk about that later on. I just had to share that as an example of what I was talking about earlier. What did this moment, for me, the moment at Broken Bow reminded me of a painful place that I still need to heal from. All right, moving on. Am I going backwards is a question. Am I hoping you, brother? So much revelation is in that. Listen, yeah, I'm still processing through. I'll share more later as I go through that healing process. Am I going backwards? So this is one of the biggest fears that a lot of people have. You're not going backwards. People will say, I haven't cried like this in months. I thought I had dealt with this. That was me. Why does this hurt again? Or am I going backwards? Not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. So let's look at this analogy here. Let's see. Natasha on YouTube says, I cry so hard every time I hear Let It Rain Down by Phil Collins. So I avoid listening to the song, although it's a beautiful song. Perfect example. Thank you for sharing that, Natasha. Perfect example. So let's see. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. You climb, several miles, and then you stop and you look over what you have accomplished. Okay. You can still see the valley where you started. You're climbing though. Seeing the valley again doesn't mean that you're standing where you started. You can see it, but you're not standing there. So perspective matters. Perspective matters when you're in grief. Okay. So same way with grief, when you're experiencing it again, meaning the pain of it, it doesn't automatically erase the emotional work you've done. Because that was me. I was like, Lord, you're going to have to help me. Because listen, I thought me and you was doing some work. He said, and we did. We've been doing this work since it happened. He said, but this is the last leg of healing as it relates to this that you have to do. Okay. So you can say to yourself, revisiting pain is not always regression. It's not. Okay. So sometimes, oh my Lord, here you go, Pastor Arthur. Sometimes you're revisiting something with more insight, with new revelation. I got new revelation. All right. Sometimes you're revisiting this space in grief with better coping skills. That's what I'm gaining now. Better coping skills, stronger boundaries, increased support, a deeper faith, all of that. A different understanding even of yourself. So don't measure your healing by whether you ever cry again. Don't measure that. Measure it partly by how you respond when the tears come. That's how you want to measure it. Okay. So grief, what does it do? It changes as we change. Here's another perspective. We don't only grieve the person. Sometimes we grieve the future we expected to have with them. Most people look at, okay, you had the funeral, it's over. Okay, I grieve the person, but I got to grieve the future too. The conversations we'll never have, the places we'll never go, the grandchildren that they won't get to meet, the advice you'll never get. Boy, do I miss my daddy and his advice. Man. I have to make major decisions by myself. I'm like, Lord Jesus, I just got you. Am I making the right decision? Okay. So you have to grieve all of that, even the version of yourself that existed before the loss. All right. This is good to me. So this also applies to non-death losses as well. Divorce, infertility, estrangement, retirement, church hurt, all of that, caregiving, a major health challenge, financial devastation, a dream that didn't happen. All of these will cause us to grieve. All right. So you may not want the relationship back, and I don't. You may not want the old job back, and I don't. You may know leaving that environment was healthy. It was necessary, and you can still grieve what happened. That should bless somebody today. Fantasia has a song called It Was Necessary. I don't want the marriage back. I don't want the job back that I had. I know it was necessary for that to happen, and I still grieve what happened. That's how grief works. All right? So missing what was doesn't necessarily mean you want it back. That's for non-death losses. Okay? Sometimes some people don't want the people back. Grief is the price that we pay for love. So if you love the person deeply, you're going to grieve them deeply. I've known many, many family members who have died, gone on to be with the Lord. I just looked over in that casket. I say, oh, that's them, ain't it? Didn't hurt at all because I didn't have that kind of love for them. Went on to the repast, ate that chicken, them green beans and that corn and that roll, piece of cake, and went on by my business because grief did not impact me because I didn't love them the way that I love other people. So what does healthy long-term grieving look like? All right. So what does it look like? Remembering without becoming completely overwhelmed every time. This is how you can gauge your progress. Talking about them without always being unable to continue because you're crying. Allowing yourself to experience joy without being guilty. Okay? Recognizing triggers early. See, now I'm recognizing my triggers. That's progress. Okay? Knowing what helps you regulate emotionally. You got to know that. Building relationships while honoring relationships you've lost. Being able to say, I miss them without interpreting missing them as failure. Okay, so how do you continue the bonds as we kind of wrap up? How do you continue the bonds? Meaning, let me clarify that. I probably need to do a live on that. People of God, we don't have bonds with people who are deceased. My God, today. There's scripture in the Old Testament. I got to go find it. You know it, Pastor Arthur. You probably know it. You the expert. You next to God. There's a scripture again that we don't deal with the dead in that aspect. So when I say continuing the bonds, that means you maintain healthy connections. Relates to memories, stories about your loved ones. Look at the pictures, recipes, traditions, and all those kinds of things to keep their memory alive. So when grief may need additional support, you may need some additional support. So while grief has no expiration date, that doesn't mean that every level of suffering should simply be endured indefinitely. Okay? Don't be out there suffering silently by yourself. So there's a difference between saying I miss them and I'm unable to function because the pain remains overwhelming. If you are debilitated, that means you need some support. Okay? It should not be that way. My question I ask a lot of people, will thou be made whole? That's what Jesus asked. Do you want to be made whole? If you do, that means that you're willing to do something that you've never done before, being open to support. Okay? So you want to consider additional professional support because grief is affecting your everyday functioning. You're not able to maintain your relationships. You're having trouble at work. You're late to work. Your performance level has fallen. You're not caring for yourself. I remember years ago, I was working as a social worker and in a nursing home, and I was going through depression. excuse me, over grief over relationship. And my hair was disheveled. I just wasn't looking put together like I am now. Thankfully, I had a wonderful, caring boss who called me into the office and he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Yes, it is. You're not yourself." He said, "You're disheveled. You're not focused. You don't look like the Tonya that is always put together." And then that's when I started crying. I said, relationship stuff. And he sent me to the doctor. And I started antidepressants during that time. And he sent me to counseling. That's a caring boss because I wasn't caring for myself and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it. So you got to be able to know when it's time to reach out for help. So pay attention to persistent hopelessness, severe isolation, substance misuse, or thoughts of harming yourself. If you're there, reach out for help. Call the funeral home. Call a life celebration. If you're in the Austin area, and they can reach out to me or reach out, help you connect. We can help you connect with your therapist, whatever we need to do. Okay? Because the truth is, according to David Kessler, he is, again, one of the experts in the grief industry, healing does require witnessing. What do I mean by that? Someone needs to witness the fact that you are going through. We're not meant to go through this alone. Tools, treatment. We need community. So what does this grief need from me today is a question you can ask yourself. So when you think about the person, the place, the thing, the season, the dream, whatever it is that you lost, stop asking yourself, why am I not over this? Instead, ask, what does this grief need from me today? What does it need from me today? So it may need acknowledgement. I had to acknowledge that there's some anger there that I didn't know was there. That's why I didn't want to go to Broken Boat. So you may need rest. Go take a nap. My sisters are older, and when they get a little cranky, I say, go lay down, take a nap. I need naps too when I get cranky. David Kessler is absolutely wonderful. Yes, Rochelle. He was a mentee of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the lady who came up with the 5 stages of grief. So ask yourself, what does your grief need today? Does it need tears? Does it need prayer? Do you need a conversation? Do you need a boundary? Okay, whatever it is. Do you need a therapist? Do you need community? Do you need just permission to remember? Or do you need permission to just live? Ask yourself, what does the grief need from me today? So grief has no expiration date. As I close and Marie gets ready to come back to close this out, you're allowed to remember. You're allowed to feel. You are allowed to heal. And guess what? You are allowed to keep living. You are allowed to keep living. Yeah. So, awesome, awesome, awesome. So, as Marie comes up, y'all can put in the chat, was this helpful for you today? Was this helpful for you today? Put yes in the comment section if this was helpful for you. Definitely go and download the handout so you can have it. That's right. What does grief need from me today? So, all right, Marie, was this helpful today? Uh-oh, we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was muted.
Okay.
But yes, that was very helpful. Like I said at the beginning, I said it was a lot of information. So we went through quite a bit of, things. And I was listening. I was going to say, this week, Tonya, I don't know if you had heard Luke Mercer's father had passed away, and we funeralized his father this week. And he got up and he was making remarks, for the family, and he was talking about how he was remembering how when he was going through his dad, he said, "My dad, he loved me one day, and he was giving it to me the next day. Loved me one day, and giving it to me the next day." And he was sharing that with somebody who had lost their parent, and she said to him, she said, I'd give another day to be able to get it from my dad. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how long it's been, you're
That's
gonna
right.
miss it. You are definitely gonna miss it. But thank you, Dr. Cunningham, for sharing. Grief has no expiration date. To close out, I was going to let you guys know Mr. Franklin is away right now. He's ministering in another city with a cousin of his who's been a minister of music for some 30 years, and he's out there ministering with her today. So that's why he's not here today. One other thing I wanted to let you guys know, we are Life Celebration next week in, we are going to be traveling to Houston, Texas for what we call our Push Hope ministry. And the Push Hope ministry, what it consists of, it's a group of funeral directors who come together. They're brothers, 5 different ones. They come from different cities: Houston, Galveston, Waco, Dallas, and Austin. And what those guys do, they get together and they network between funeral homes. So we are celebrating actually 30 years of being with Push Hope. So we're going to be chartering a bus. Well, we've already chartered a bus. We still have some room on the bus. If anybody is interested in going on the trip with us, we'll be leaving on Sunday morning, going to Houston for that fellowship. So I just wanted to let anybody know who wanted to just kind of give us a call and let us know if you're interested in going on that trip. But that's all we have for today, and we hope to see you guys in September. And next time, September, we will be virtual again. So thank you, and we'll see you next month.